Hey, everybody. Dave Hagan here. I think we can learn a lot from listening to other people's stories and how they're getting through things. And we're going to do that. That's today on the Financial Wellness Podcast.
Welcome to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to the financial success. Here is your host, financial problem solver and talk show host, Dave Hagan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Financial Wellness Podcast, or as we like to call it, TFWP. Today is a coronavirus edition because we're going to talk about coronavirus pandemic-related kinds of things. And as I said in the cold open, I think we can learn a lot from people, how they're doing things, how they're coping, how they're structuring their lives. So today we're going to talk with one millennial and see how she is coping in a coronavirus economy and see what we can take away from that. So we're coming to you today by Zoom. I'm in Topanga. Another one of us is in Van Nuys. One of us is in Pasadena. Brian's taking the week off. I said, Brian, I got this covered. And I want to welcome to the show, Amanda. Amanda, welcome to the TFWP.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a real pleasure. Now, everybody, Amanda may or may not be her real name. That's the name that we've chosen for today. Some people like talking about their personal financial affairs on the air, and some do not. And you're not going to know if Amanda falls into either of those camps. But for purpose of the TFWP, we've got Amanda on the show. Now, Amanda is actually a friend of my daughter's, and she's a recent college graduate in marketing.
Yes.
Your degree was in marketing. Okay. She's living in the Los Angeles area. And she works for a local convention authority, a group that puts on conventions, a city actually that puts on conventions. Is that about right, Amanda?
Yeah, just about. It's in the hospitality industry, as we've known, has definitely taken a hit during this coronavirus time period.
Oh man, it's going to get really hard hit, huh?
Oh, yeah. So far, they're projecting 1/3 of the unemployment population is hospitality-related industries, which Convention and Visitor Bureau, which is what I work for, falls under that parameter.
All right. So you've got a tough road ahead, potentially.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So just the other day, Amanda was over and hanging out, and her and my daughter, myself, we were talking, and we started talking about, Amanda's path through these tough financial times. And this was just like a couple days ago. And the more we got into it, the more that I thought that this was a really interesting story and something that we could learn from. And I said, wow, Amanda, would you like to be on a podcast? And she said,
yes.
All right, very cool. Very cool. So let's talk about your finances or your financial past through this coronavirus era, if you will. I mean, the bottom line is you're okay financially.
Yes, financially, I am comfortable, and that's exactly how I would put it. Starting before coronavirus in January, my mom had given us a financial book. It was Dave Ramsey's, and I believe the title is "What to Do with Money" or how to. I think it's What to Do with Money.
Well, we don't want to be giving away the title to Dave's book because he ain't paying us no sponsor fee, if you know what I mean. But Dave's stuff is good and it's valuable, and a lot of the things that he says are very similar to the things that we talk about here on the TWP.
Exactly. And I think what he says and what you guys say is nothing. It's nothing that we haven't heard before. But it's something that teaching financial responsibility, and it's and reading about it is nothing I ever learned about in school. And like you said, I'm a recent graduate. When I went to school, I learned how to take tests really well, and I learned how to, make myself look desirable on a resume. But what I didn't learn was my financial responsibility. And so in January, that's whenever the path of financial responsibility started for me. I like many millennials, had debt. still have a little bit of debt, but working towards it and actively working towards it.
Nice.
But more than anything, it taught me to have an emergency fund and to save up 3 months of expenses. So come March, when the pandemic hit, I was very fortunate in my job that they kept me on for almost 50, almost 50 weeks longer than many other people.
Well,
I'm sorry,
let's not even go there yet.
50 days.
Let's not even go there. I'm more intrigued by this emergency fund. So your mom gave you this book.
Yeah.
And you read the whole book? Did you go through the whole book?
I did. I read the whole book, and I made active changes in my life, including paying up a substantial amount of my debt.
Nice.
I took more the avalanche effect mindset towards that than the snowball, just because I felt like that worked in my life.
Right.
It doesn't work
for those listeners. Those are two different ways to pay off debt, and we talked about that. The different approaches that are out there, they're not unique to Dave. Lots of people talk about them.
Everybody, Dave Hagen talks about them.
I talked about it a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, these aren't things that aren't known. It's just maybe not everybody knows. You conceptualize it, but once you get into the nitty gritty, there are easy obtainable steps that you can do. And really, it's almost like a percentage game with your salary. And that's how I looked at it is, when you gave yourself parameters of what you could and could not spend based on your expenses, it changed my mind. It blew it. It really did, where it's, a credit card wasn't free money anymore. I had to go to, and for me, it worked to do cash and to do my debit card. When I saw that there was an actual, end to, there was a bottom of the well, that's whenever, to me, I really, clicked that this is what financial responsibility means, is that you don't get to the bottom of that well.
Right. So you read the book, you thought about it, and did you write a couple things down, or you just started doing it from memory?
I did make an Excel spreadsheet because, like a good millennial, I don't write things down. I put it on my computer.
Right. That's true. That's true.
So I put it on I made an Excel spreadsheet, and I also pumped that book and what I learned out to everyone that I could, including my boyfriend, and all my friends. And of course, Kirsten was like, of course I do this already.
Well, she does. She's Dave Hagen's daughter, but yeah.
She's Dave Hagen's daughter, and she's over there like, duh, why aren't you doing this before? But
Well,
so
tell me a little bit about pumping it out to your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because I think that couples that pursue a common goal, it's kind of a bonding thing. Did you experience that, or did he just go, no, I'm not getting this?
Actually, ironically, this was probably when I started reading this book, was probably the first time that we really had financial discussions in depth. And I think that was really good for us. And I learned that he was financially responsible than I was. And he was already practicing these things, which I did not know. And I think that's also very unique in a young gentleman of our age. And so it almost put the pressure on me, where it's like, you know what? You cannot be the person in this relationship that is financially crippling us. Right. So it was more incentive to really get myself in line. But for my siblings who also did it, it was incentivizing to them to, not be to find somebody who also was financially stable, or to, not be that burden in their relationships.
Right. Now are you one of four? Did I remember?
I am one of four. I am number 2 in 4. We are all within 6 years of each other, from the oldest to the youngest, and we're all very close in age.
Wow. And so you shipped this information out to your brothers and sisters? Did they pick up on it and dig it, or did
my sister did. My middle brother, who's closest in age with me, he's about 3 years younger than me. He's slowly but surely getting there. We work with him each and every day. And my youngest brother is also a recent college graduate. And he's actually got his degree in finance. So he is very financially responsible.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
And, some people are at a point in their life where they jump on board, and some people are like, I'm not there yet. I'm You know, I'm still taking it one day at a time, you know?
Exactly. And in our household, my dad has a master's in finance. So again,
Okay.
these are things that we always heard about, but until you really, we conceptualize about, but until you get in the nitty and gritty in your own personal finances, that's when you understand it.
Right.
So
I met your dad one time, a master's in finance.
yeah,
I mean, he's a smart dude,
he is.
but you weren't getting personal finance advice.
It's one thing for your dad to say it, and it's another thing for you to live through it.
So
And
true.
there's nothing worse than at 27 years old going back to your dad and saying, you were right.
Yeah, that's brutal.
All those years.
Right.
Yeah, but the success of being unemployed right now, I did lose. And in this pandemic, I got laid off, and being unemployed and looking and in my unemployment saying, I'm not concerned about my financial stability at all.
Right.
And that's a very comfortable position to be in.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll take the pill of, looking at my dad and saying, I'm sorry, I should have listened to you in order to be where I am today.
Let's go back to the book and let's go back to the stuff that you were thinking about. And I want to focus on something that you said.
Mhm.
Well, you said a couple of things. One, paying off debt. We're all about that.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's really maybe more salient in these times is the emergency fund. Tell me a little bit about that.
So the an emergency fund, I don't know if you've talked about it before, is 3 months of expenses. So and that's what my goal was to save up, was the 3 months of expenses. And for me, what that looked like was $1,000 each month. And putting that away was, just a little bit of a paycheck at each point in time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And ironically, when I started doing it, and I kind of quickly did $1,000 immediately, put that in, and I realized how easy it was to save up $1,000.
Right.
There was like $200 a paycheck, $500 a paycheck, whatever it was. I realized how quickly it was and how silly it was that I wasn't doing this before.
Right. Well, we call that monthly expense, or I like to call it, your nut. And you said $1,000 a month was your nut. So it means that you're living pretty efficiently.
Yes.
Especially in California. But I think that's great.
Yeah, in California, Pasadena. I live and work in Pasadena, which is, kind of was my dream. And Pasadena is not an inexpensive area, so to be able, and I think also whittling down your expenses was key for me. Any sort of expenses that we're going over on, I tried to, eliminate. And it's also, I factor in, part of my expenses was my, my gas and transportation. And it helps that I live less than a mile from work.
Right. So your transportation expenses are a little less than the average bear. What about car payment? Do you have a car payment?
I do not have a car payment. I own my vehicle. So that is
for you.
Yeah, I did. I worked and paid off my vehicle when I was in college. And
sweet.
And at the time, everybody's like, oh, you should get a new car now that you have a nice job or had a nice job. And thank God I didn't do that. But, I always say that the maintenance of my car, no matter how expensive the maintenance of my car is, it's still less than a car payment. And so my Toyota Avalon has 200,000 miles on it, and it keeps chugging along.
But you're enjoying what we call the gravy years, when you can drive it without a payment. It takes care of business, the expenses, the repairs aren't too much.
Exactly.
And just think, if you had a car payment, your nut would be $1,300, $1,400.
Oh yeah,
or
for
more.
Sure.
So that helped with your sustainability, viability on a long-term basis.
Yeah,
Very smart.
Definitely did. It definitely did. And and I understand also that I'm in a unique position because I don't have a car payment.
Right.
And also my insurance for the car is very low because it is an older car. And,
right.
I've been, I hit an age where my insurance went down. So it is a very nominal cost, that too, but that is a larger cost for a lot of people.
Right.
And I do it.
So you were able to save up 3 months of your nut.
Yeah. Yes.
Over how many months?
I actually was able to do that in, let's see here, 3 months. It took me 3 months to do it, but I did it very gradually.
Right.
And for myself, and a lot of that, and this sounds really silly, but it's what I did was eat out less. And really manage what I was, cooking more at home, eating out less, doing fewer things, finding things and activities to do in order to do that. And I didn't feel like my social life was hurting because of it, but it created a stability and a comfort level that I'm really glad I have.
Oh, that was going to be my next question. While you're putting this together, did you feel like your life was less?
No, and as a matter of fact, I almost felt like it was more because I was inviting friends over to my home to cook dinner for them, or we would go on hikes, which are free. We weren't going out to the bars and to the, to dinners and to the movies and stuff like that. We were just finding, come over to my house and play a game and I'll cook you dinner. And that is so much less expensive than like going out to dinner to Granville, for example. Love Granville, but that's just an example.
What's Granville?
It's a restaurant.
Oh, I'm not that cool.
Yeah,
tell me what Granville is.
You know what? Ask your daughter. She'll know. She'll know the trendy places. Yeah, too cool and trendy. But it's a really great place. It's a California specific, like farm to table kind of restaurant. But it's middle tier expense, and it's one of our favorites. It's walking distance from here to Pasadena, and it's from my place into town. So it was so easy just to walk there for dinner instead of cooking ourselves. That.
Well, and knowing you, I'm sure you weren't not going out for dinner and drinks, but maybe just not as much.
Exactly. I made a limit for myself. I would only dine out, once a week. And that included whether it was lunch with coworkers or dinner with friends. It was only once a week I would eat out.
But again, was it hard to do? Did you feel like, oh man, I'm really gotta suck it up. It's terrible.
No, I never felt like it was ever an imposition to do. My boyfriend might disagree with me because he's one to love dining out. But I know personally in my life, I never felt like it was an imposition just because we found other things to do.
All right. So you took these months, 3 months, whatever it was, got together 3 months of an emergency fund.
Yes.
And by the way, Dave Ramsey talks about 3 months. I've talked about 3 to 6 months.
Yes.
Susie Orman even talks about 8 months. Do you know who Susie Orman is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. She's she talks about personal finance, and she sells tapes and stuff on public television, and pretty well known. And you've made it big time when they lampoon you on SNL.
Yeah.
Right. And Kirsten Wiig would lampoon her years ago on SNL. So, she's pretty well known in the United States, but she says 8 months. And I think that's a lot, but if someone can do that, hey, great. But
yeah. And especially right now, I know there's a lot of people out there who are wishing they had 3, 6, 8 months saved away,
Sure.
And it's you prepare for times like this. You never expect it to happen, but you do. You prepare for times like this.
Right. When airplanes fly into buildings, or when a pandemic hits, or whatever these kinds of things happen. So let's talk for a minute about the when you got laid off.
Yeah.
I mean, the pandemic hit about mid-March.
Yes.
And you just recently got laid off. Tell us a little bit about that.
May 1st was when I was officially laid off, and the pandemic hit in March. And as soon as the pandemic hit, CVBs, which is Convention and Visitor Bureau, their employees started dropping like flies because we are relying on events. And if you're closing down events, you're not allowing events. There's no reason for so many employees. So as soon as that started happening, I was like, okay, this is going to be a long-term problem. And so as soon as that happened, I started aggressively putting more money into my emergency fund because I knew, okay, it's only a matter of time before my position gets laid off. I'm a client services position. If there are no people, there's nobody for me to help. Right. And so, I'm very fortunate to belong to a very great organization who kept me as long as they could. And, unfortunately, when that call came, they were very apologetic. They wish they could keep me, but, and when that call came, I was sad that I was, laid off, and I was sad that, this was potentially an end of a time at an organization that I love, but I was not scared or worried for my financial future because I knew I had 6 months saved up. And that doesn't mean I don't have debt. It just means that I can pay the minimum payments on my credit cards, and I can also still pay for my rent, my expenses, and all that, and still be able to do all the things that I need to do like the baseline need to do. Right. Which
so between March and May 1st, I mean, you see the way things are going.
Yeah.
And I think I just heard you say you weren't worried or scared, I guess.
Yeah, not at all.
But you just started to plan.
Exactly. You see something happening, and I think the worst thing you can do for yourself is say it won't happen to me. You
Right.
know, you see people, I mean, and myself to a degree included, like you're buying online from Amazon, all these things, and it's so easy to stress buy on Amazon. You just have to, not do that for yourself and prepare for your financial future, saying this, I could get laid off.
Right.
Is this purchase worth it? I could get laid off. Is this takeout worth it? I could get laid off. Is it worth it for me to, buy books and workout equipment and home videos and stuff like that? It's, all these things are great, but it's like, you need to pay, what's more important, these things or your rent? And that came down to it for me. And
Right.
so, and because of that, I feel like I'm on a mini vacation right now, because it's like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give myself a full month of like, we're just going to relax and enjoy this month of like unemployment, and then, hit the ground running when and if I can.
Right. So you got laid off the first week of May.
Yes.
I just heard you say unemployment. So you applied for unemployment right away.
I did. Yeah. And I actually did get approved for unemployment. That's, it's, and for anybody who is looking to do that, it is taking a while for unemployment to come right now, but that is just because the massive amount of applications they have.
Right.
And that was another thing is, I expected not to get an unemployment check at all in the month of May. So I have a little bit of discretionary money to have in the month of May, just for miscellaneous things. And I prepared for that, because I was like, okay, if I apply for unemployment, I think it was on March 4th that I applied, or I'm sorry, May 4th that I applied for unemployment. I'm not expecting to get a check I'm expecting it by the earliest, the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's not like you're running out to the mailbox every day to go, oh my goodness,
where's my check?
I need to go to the store to get food, and I need my check.
Yeah, I need my check. I need to get groceries. I need to get food. That's
right.
And it's solely because, when I was getting a paycheck, I was putting it away.
Right. Now, we don't want to talk about specific amounts, but what percentage of your income is unemployment going to replace?
Let's see here. The unemployment is about 50% of my net income.
Okay.
So
about a third of your gross, maybe.
Correct. About
half of your net.
Gross. Yeah.
Okay.
Which, to me, in my position, that covers more than my expenses. It allows for a little bit extra. But if I hadn't had an emergency fund, I would be just barely getting by.
Right.
And that's frightening to me,
Sure. Well, and your family's on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast, so it's on you.
Exactly.
You're out here getting it done.
Exactly. And, I know, of course, and this is a very blessed situation to be in, but I know if I called my parents, like they would, of course, like be able to help, but that's not everyone's position. And that's not the position I want to be in.
Right.
As a 27-year-old independent woman, I do not want to call my parents and say, I can't afford rent.
Right.
No, that's a nightmare. And if anything else, I'm so proud of myself for doing that. And also, I think my parents are also, especially my dad, he was like, yay.
Yeah, I bet, huh? She's not calling for a check.
Yeah, exactly.
So your overhead was low. You had an emergency fund. You're getting unemployment, and you're going to be able to last for some extended period of time. What's your survival time? Did you think about that?
So, my survival time is to the end of October. So by November 1st, I need a job, and I need a paycheck to pay for November 1st rent, which, if all things considered, and, I hope that the pandemic does not last that long, but all things considered, that is a very comfortable position to be in.
Right. You're not going crazy. You're not stressing.
I'm going crazy because I'm bored, but I'm not going crazy because of stress.
Right.
No, there is little to no stress in my life. When that's and I never thought I would be here. So I'm very happy that I took control of my financial responsibility and made the steps necessary. And it was easy. it was surprisingly easy to do.
Right. Very cool. Very cool. So any problems with this? I mean, lifestyle, you got 6 months. First of all, are you out there looking for work?
I am not. So I actually gave myself until June 1st, and June 1st, I will start casually looking. Unfortunately, I'm in the hospitality industry, so my job options are very limited, considering that we're one of the industries to be hit the hardest.
Right.
My organization did say they wanted to bring me back as soon as they could, but that's if and when they can. So who knows
Right.
when that would be.
And you would go back in a minute, right?
Yeah,
it was a good gig.
I would love to go back to them.
Sure.
I absolutely, they're an amazing company. They really took care of their employees. I felt like I was valued, which is important. You know, that's really important. And going into looking for a new job, those are things I will look as value. And that's also a great thing about looking for a new job. I don't feel like I have to take a job because I need money. I feel like I can take a job because it's a good fit for me. I'm a good, their organization. I'm a good fit for their organization.
Right.
It's an industry I like. It's a, job that sounds exciting to me. And those are all things that are important to me. And so I feel like I can find a job based on what my values are, instead of like, I need a paycheck. I need to make rent. So.
Well, I think that's so important. And I think it's so forward thinking of you to say that, to be able to take a job where you want to do it and they want you to be there, rather than I just need a paycheck.
Exactly.
You don't have to take the next gig. Necessarily.
Exactly. And that is also a very comfortable position to be in.
Right.
But in the meantime, I am volunteering. I think that's also really important to do, is to, in an unemployment, you need to kind of like find ways to not only entertain yourself, but also to bring you joy and kind of give back to your community.
Right.
So in Pasadena Unified School District, we give out lunches every weekend to the families who are in need.
Okay.
So that's something that I have done, and I have done for the past, I guess, couple weeks that we've been in quarantine.
Right.
And
you're not just sitting around watching Ozark?
I am not just sitting around watching Ozark or Little Fires Everywhere, even though I recommend both of those shows.
Oh, really? Okay.
No,
I'll have to check that out.
Really great. But, I am getting my TV watching in. I am catching up and reading books, volunteering time, and, also updating my resume, kind of updating LinkedIn, kind of doing just back end stuff, so that when I am ready to, kind of look for a job, I can hit the ground running, just preparing myself. So.
Right. But you've got the luxury to be able to think and do those kind of big picture things because you planned ahead.
Exactly.
Because your mom sent you a book.
My mom sent me a book and asked me to read it. This is the lesson is, millennials out there, do what your mother tells you, even when you're 29 years old.
No, don't say that to millennials. They'll go, oh, no, I don't want to listen to the show anymore. They're telling me to listen to my mama.
Sometimes the parents do know some things.
Oh, man.
I mean, I didn't know my mom had a text, but.
Have there any things you've lost out on? You feel like you've lost out on because of the coronavirus? I mean, what's been the pain to you?
We did plan a vacation, and for anybody who knows me in my life, one of my passions is travel, and one of my passions is to go on vacations and whatnot. Hence why I went into the hospitality industry to begin with.
Oh yeah, I get it now.
I was going to go with my family and my boyfriend on my first cruise ever to Alaska.
Oh, nice.
And that was going to take off June 1st. And, that is something that we did have to miss out on. And, Taylor and I were supposed to go see Bryan Adams in Vegas.
That's probably not happening.
That's definitely not happening. It already passed. It was in May. But, concerts that we've missed out on, vacations that we've missed out on. And, that is sad, and it is disappointing. And I allow myself the time to be sad about that. Alaska is not going anywhere. The glaciers are, but I'll see them next year, the year after.
Right.
We'll go to the next best concert, and but it is sad to miss out on those things. But ultimately, I'm just happy that I'm in the position that I am now, and I'm happy and I'm healthy, and I'm not stressed, which is great.
Which is a big deal. Yeah.
It is. It really is.
Did you do the test for antibodies?
I did not do the test for antibodies yet.
Yeah, me neither. I thought about it, but no, I
Yeah,
haven't done that.
I feel like I need to do that. One of our good friends who is in the healthcare industry says that taking the antibody test, you want to be positive for having exposure to coronavirus, because as soon as 70% of the population has exposure, that means we're over the pandemic. That's no longer pandemic, that we have antibodies built up against it. So,
Well, and people that are positive,
yeah,
at least a lot of people are saying, are not susceptible to getting it
yeah,
again. Now, the World Health
exactly.
Organization has said that may not necessarily be the case, but there's still people that believe that. And I
Yeah,
think that people that have a positive are going to be more sought after, more
yeah.
valuable, dare I say, more highly paid
Oh, yeah,
employees on a go forward basis.
exactly.
I don't
In
know.
that case, I need to get the test done and, hope hope for the best.
That's right. You put on your resume
Yeah.
and tested positive for coronavirus antibodies. Did you get your stimulus check yet?
I did. I did get my stimulus check, and
What'd you do with it?
I put a portion of that into my emergency fund.
Smart.
I put a portion of that into investing into stock market, and the other
Smart.
portion I put into paying off debt. So it
Very
was
cool.
like a trifecta, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And what
Yeah.
was going to be your goal for paying off debt if the pandemic hadn't hit? Did you have a plan for that?
I did. So I'm supposed to be debt free in October. By October 1st, I'm supposed to be debt free. And I had, I think, $7,000 of debt January 1st. And I'm actually projected now to be debt free in August. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Nicely played.
yeah, I shaved off a couple months there just because, when you don't do anything and financially prepare yourself and you're ready, you just put chunks away of that at debt. And like I said, I took the avalanche approach as opposed to the snowball. So being a little bit more aggressive about that.
Very good.
I'm very happy about that. That's going to be
Oh,
the
good.
first time I have been debt free since I was 17 years old. And that's a good feeling. That is a good
Yeah.
feeling.
What does that feel like? I mean, you said a good feeling, but just try and describe it a little bit.
And in college, it was always, oh, everybody has debt. Everybody has debt. It's a normal thing. It's manageable. It's manageable. And then once I graduated, this is a huge millennial thing, but it was the fear of missing out on doing things. So I just kept putting it on my credit card.
Yeah.
And so every time I went out, I looked at a dollar sign. Every time I did something, I looked at the dollar sign, the value of it.
Mhm.
And I've noticed this recently, and before the pandemic hit, when I would go do things, it wasn't necessarily a dollar sign or the value of something. It was emotional connection to what I was doing. I was spending time with friends. I was doing something. I wasn't concerned about, will I be able to put this on my credit card? Will I be able to put this on my debit card? That wasn't my first thought. It was, I know I could be able to do this. And that comfort, it was like lift a weight off your shoulders.
Right.
It is a wonderful feeling. And I'll have to let you know in August how it feels to be completely debt free. So.
Yeah, we'll have to have a conversation or have you back on the show.
Yeah.
The reason I asked you the question is because it seems to me that a large part of personal finance, a large part of personal financial planning is emotional.
Yes.
It's not head smarts per se. A lot of it's emotion. And if someone can dial in and access the emotions of being debt free or having an emergency plan or having a long-term savings on a go forward basis, basically financial security, having a financial plan, it makes it a lot more easier to pursue.
Yes, it does. And I can personally tell you, there's not a single dinner or vacation or, experience that I have had that is that equivalent to the feeling of I am not stressed during unemployment. I've been skydiving, I've been hot air ballooning. Those are amazing experiences.
Not during the pandemic.
Not during the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
But, these are experiences that I've had that are like, they're thrilling, they're exciting, and they're amazing. Getting to the top of Haleakala in Hawaii, beautiful experience. But these are, nothing can compare to the experience that I feel now, where I am just relaxed, I am calm, I am not stressed, because as amazing as all those experiences were, they cost money to get there.
Right.
This experience just required me saving money to get here, and that is really an amazing feeling.
Wow. Well, I mean, good for you. What an amazing story. When we started talking a couple of days ago, I had no idea that you were on that path. I don't even know that you did I knew that I did the podcast. And the more that we talked, I thought, man, the listeners got to hear this like success story. How cool is that? They got to hear from Amanda.
Well, I'm very happy that you wanted to share my story, because it's you can't, now that I've talking to people about it, you can't shut me up. I'm pretty sure my friends are like, yeah, we know you had an emergency fund. Like, yeah, we know you read this book, but I'm giving it to anybody who will listen to me, and just, I'm preaching like, you need to do this, because I was exactly like every other atypical credit card spender before, where it's just racking up debt,
Right.
not concerned about it, because, well, I'm making my minimum payments. This,
Right.
I will literally tell anybody who will listen now.
Well, and you know what you could do even better than giving them the book?
Yeah.
Get
Tell
them to
them
subscribe to the podcast.
I will. I will. I'm going to send out links now.
Yeah, I mean, when we started the podcast 2 years ago, we talked about 5 steps to financial freedom. And, certainly emergency fund was one of them. Paying off debt was another. Long-term savings. So, as similar kinds of material, just presented in different ways, and they all have their pluses and minuses. I just happen to think mine's the best.
Yours is the best. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on your podcast.
Oh, man. Well, Amanda, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's just been a blast talking to you and hearing about this particular aspect of your life.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you giving me a platform to share my story.
Wow. Normally we go on and we talk about emails at this point, but we've used up all of our time talking to Amanda. So we'll save this email. I got a really good one, everybody. Tune in next week. It's amazing. But we're going to wrap it up. That's a wrap. This is Dave Hagan, and you've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast.
You've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to financial success. If you have a question that you would like Dave to answer on the podcast, go to thefinancialwellnesspodcast.com. You can leave an audio message with one click of a button, or type your message into the question box. Either way, it's sent right to Dave's phone. Remember, Dave will randomly draw from the submitted questions and pick the winner of a free 1-hour personal conversation with Dave to help you achieve your financial goals. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you receive the new episode notifications, or share the podcast via the app with your family and friends. This is your announcer, Nick Appel, wishing you every financial success.